God is working in the jail, and God is working on the inmate, and God is working on you.
Hello, it's Jeff and Matthias again, following up on last week's episode, and today we are stepping into a conversation that touches deep. It connects to the hidden hurt of the families and people that are outside, the quiet weight carried by the families and loved ones of those who are behind bars.
As Matthias was saying, today we're talking about the hidden hurt. I know from my experience as a jailer, when a person's locked away from family, they get a perspective of how good they had it out in the world and how much their family means to them. And the other side of that card is the family realizes how much that person locked away means to them. Friends, maybe the person that they were giving a ride to work every day, maybe the person they were helping by mowing their yard. It affects many people when one person is locked away. They may not be guilty of a charge, but the charge they have on them will keep them locked up till they go to court. And during that time, the families have a hurt themselves, whether it's the first time the person's been locked up or they may have a history of being locked up on things. Being away from the family, I often ask an inmate when they're being released from the jail what they like to eat for the first meal out, if it might be a big steak or a mess of catfish. And I had one young inmate that told me something that I remembered. I asked him if he wanted a steak or seafood or what, and he said, "I just want whatever my mother's cooking for supper." And that touched me. He was locked away from his family, and I know that his mama was hurting with him being locked up. So as Christians, we have a song we sing about others, and it's something we need to think about when we get involved in one thing or another, how it might affect others. Now, it really comes to evidence visitation days, because some people get a visitation from family members or friends or wife or husband every time the visitation comes along. And then sometimes you have an inmate that doesn't get visited. He doesn't have anybody that wants to see him. And then there are a few situations where an inmate may not want their children to see them like that, behind the glass in a striped uniform, being jailed. The kids may be getting harassed at school with other kids laughing at the fact that their mama or daddy or both of them are locked up in jail. The family might see the people in situations where they go whispering about the terrible thing. As jailer, it helps to have a tenderness for that, because lots of us jailers have had members of our family locked up. And we know the kind of embarrassment they face when they come up to the jail to visit or to see what it'd take to get that person out of jail. And we explain to them that the old saying that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree is not true. You have some real good people that have raised some sorry kids, and you have some sorry people that have raised some kids that don't want to go down that path in life. They decided to make something better of themselves. You never know what kind of situation they have at home, whether the person has turned away from the teachings of the parents or the person is doing just like their parents have done. There's a certain amount of shame and social prejudice that's involved with people being in jail. Many families feel like they're judged when they have a member of their family in jail. And it's hard on them in that respect. And it's part of that hidden hurt. A lot of uncertainty when a person's in jail. You think about upcoming court dates and how to do this or that. I've had inmates come to me and say, "Here it is, cold weather, and I just found out at visitation today that my family doesn't have any firewood. They don't have any money for firewood or ability to cut it since I'm in here, and they don't have any propane or any money to buy it. Maybe the car's broke down, maybe the plumbing in the house needs fixing." And if they were out, they could be helping with that. But no, their family's suffering as a result of it. When they're in jail, they miss everyday things that we take for granted, like kids' birthdays. The holidays always bring a certain sadness out of an inmate. At times they may be all right with the meals and getting plenty of sleep, but there's a different feeling when holidays come along, Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter. There's a sadness there because they think about their families, holding their hands around the table and praying to the Lord, being thankful for what all they've got, and having those delicious meals and getting to see people in the family that you don't usually see. They don't get to be a part of all that. And the family notices that empty chair sitting there at the table too. The commissary is what inmates have in the jail that they can order, like chips and candy bars, or more practical stuff like deodorant and personal hygiene type things that we take for granted being able to drop by a store and get. But when you're in jail and you don't have any money, you can't get those commissary items. If somebody has those commissary items in the jail and you go to borrow some from them, well, then that leaves you in indebtedness to some inmate in the jail that it's not going to work out good for you. So the family gets leaned on to take what money they have on the outside and give it to the inmate for commissary funds. And they need the money for being on the outside too, and possibly make arrangements for bond, get the person out of jail. But there's never enough money in those situations. It's like Texas had a campaign about driving while intoxicated charges. You can't afford it. It's a horrible cost for a family to bear. With prayers, there's power in prayer, but the letters and encouragement to those inmates mean so much to them. I've seen so many men and women get out of a jail or prison and say, I'm not going to have that kind of life. I'm going to do something better. And the best way I know to do that, is to have a church family. To have a church that you can go and study the teachings of the Bible and hear the minister advise you on things. Now, I myself, I haven't lived a charmed life as far as being a goody two-shoes all the way through, but I do know that I don't live there anymore. I'm trying to live my life right now, and I'm blessed to have a church family at Clearwater Church. That we have problems there with people having deaths to deal with, sickness to deal with, maybe divorces and unrest at their home, but you just take it on and do what you can with God at your side. There's nothing too big for Him. He can handle anything, and He can purge your sins white as snow. Being a Christian doesn't mean that you don't have anything bad happen in your life. You may end up in jail. You may end up hurt or anything. What being a Christian and having Jesus in your heart does, it gets you ready for the next life, sure, but it gives you comfort in this life to know that even though you're taking the punches that life gives you along the way, that you have somebody to turn to. You have a source of strength there that I would think anybody would be glad to have. Now, as far as what a jailer can do on the outside in talking to families and friends, I think the first thing a jailer can do is to show compassion, to be sensitive to their questions. They don't know exactly what's going on in there. They don't know that they're being cared for and fed and their medical needs are taken care of. To be compassionate, be a good listener to them, as well as telling them what's going on the inside, to be a good listener to their problems.
Do you have an example that you could talk about?
I remember one situation in particular, meeting a mother of one of my inmates, and I tried to brag on his good qualities instead of putting out the fact that, hey, he's in jail and that's just the way it is. I got to know that inmate well enough to know that that he was a good person, and that I was not only a jailer, but I was a person that valued him highly as another person. And I think it made her feel a lot better, because me seeing her went on for years in regard to her son. And when she passed away, I was, me and my wife were invited to the memorial ceremony for her. And so, yeah, you can develop a Christian bond with somebody even in the worst of situations. God can restore trust. He can mend relationships and give hope where there was no hope before. We try to invite people to come on in there and take part of what we feel as a church family, and having other people with experiences that we draw from and share the good and the bad with. And you don't have to be clean as snow to get in there. We all fall short of what we all ought to be. But if you have somebody, and I have invited inmates before and their families to join us at that church down there, and it can make a difference in your life. It can give you a path and give you some help. But sometimes just being a good listening ear for them to help them get through a time. And fortunately, I have a lot of church brothers that I could call at any time and lay my problems out to them, and they would be more than willing to talk me through those times when I'm having hard times. As family members and friends, we can give encouragement to the inmates that are in the jail by writing them letters. They are able to make phone calls and accept the phone calls and be a good listener, as well as trying to give them confidence about how they can get out and make something good of themselves. If you have family members or friends in jail, the people at Clearwater Church are just a cross-section of East Texas and America. We have people that are in jail as well, family members that we have concerns about. So there's no social judgment made on people in that situation. It's better to be in jail than out on the street getting further in trouble. Because lots of times I can testify to the fact that people get turned around and get a better life going from being in jail. And so at Clearwater Church, we certainly would hope that somebody would come sit in our church. You don't have to take an active role doing anything, but just come feel the comfort there is in being around the church family of people that really care about you. God is working in the jail, and God is working on the inmate, and God is working on you. So trust Him for the whole story, not just this chapter in your life.